Okay. Hello, folks. Time to get started. Woohoo! Hello. Hello. Can we have quiet in the room? Thank you. We need to go ahead and get started. So if we could just eat quietly and move on with the agenda. So the first thing I need is a note taker, because normally Rich does this and he's not here. Not sure where he is. Rich, you're not here, right? So the notes are linked from the agenda. Can I get somebody to please take some notes? Thank you so much, Durav. Oh, sorry, Rich. Well, you can jump in and do it. Sorry. All right. So as everybody is settling in, we're going to go ahead and get started. This is the Working Group Chairs Forum at IETF 123. This is the note well. This is all of the policies and procedures by which we abide and that you have agreed to by signing up to attend this meeting, and that you are showing to all of your respective working groups. Greg, I'm assuming it's Greg, or the LLC provide a set of default slides on the chairs.ietf.org wiki. And this is a subset of those slides. These are the meeting tips. The one thing I wanted to add, and I'm going to talk to Greg about adding it for ongoing meetings, is we do have a quick request from the NOC. Basically, we are continuing to have and have had in previous meetings problems with personal hotspots or MiFi devices.
I get that we should be silent and people should eat more silently, but the door's open and you have to eat the mic. I can't hear anything, to be honest.
Feel free to go close the door.
Yeah, but the people are still coming in. This will not be a permanent solution.
Okay. All right. So I'm seeing hands up from the back, so I'm thinking this is okay. So anyway, quick request from the NOC. Personal hotspots, MiFi devices continue to be a problem for the wireless. If you turn on a Wi-Fi device, a personal hotspot, it sort of creates a lot of additional noise in the room. So if you could please remind your working groups not to use these devices. If you're having Wi-Fi problems, please open a ticket and stop by the NOC help desk. And we've talked about adding like one sentence on this to the slides for the slide I just showed. This one, add a slide to it. So if you can't use your Wi-Fi and you decide you're going to use your hotspot, not a great solution. So with that, this is our agenda today. Do we have any agenda bashing? Okay, seeing none. Jean, you're up. No, sorry. Hold on one sec. I pushed the wrong button. Okay. Do you want to use that? You can, or I can do it.
I'll let you advance the slides. All right, sound check. Everybody hear me? All right, howdy. I'm Jean Mahoney. I am the RPC Director of Communications and Strategy, and I am here to give you an update on what we're doing. Oh, next. I want to introduce you to the RPC team. We have 12 editors working on your documents. This picture here was taken at our face-to-face retreat in San Jose in April. Also included is Alexis Rossi, who is the RFC series consulting editor. So at that retreat, we identified strategic transformations that we need to make. At a high level, we want to improve productivity by improving process efficiency, improving our tooling, working with the community to clarify the requirements that the community has of the RPC. And this will include working on a new service level agreement. It's one of the projects that will be coming up. We are working on improving transparency. Hi, here I am. We are also hosting monthly community calls. The next one is August 20th. Please call in. We will be talking about the projects that we are working on to address these strategic transformations. Another transformation is reflecting changing author processes. We've had the discussion on the chair's list about the use of GitHub. So this is one of the things we're tracking. For more info about our retreat, there's a link here. And for more continuing information, please call into the interim meetings that we're hosting. So next one, August 20th. Next. So one of the projects we've started for addressing the strategic transform of process efficiency and productivity is an intake form. Right now, this is an email message. Your document enters the queue. You will receive an email message from us with a short set of questions. What we're looking for here is any style guidance that you may have. Like, did you follow capitalization or hyphenation of terms that were defined in RFC law? Did any sections become contentious that we should be extra careful with when we copy edit? Anything else we should know about your document? Maybe you struggled with trying to create a really cool table and gave up, but you would like a fancier table. Let us know. We will also ask additional questions if your document is part of a cluster. A cluster, of course, is created when one document normatively references another document, an intranet draft that has not yet been published. If your document has source code, we'll ask you a couple of questions about that, or if it has SVG artwork. When you receive this and you go, well, I don't have any issues. I don't really have any style guidance. It's okay. Just say, yeah, not applicable, no. But we will wait for an answer from one author of the draft before we start working on the document. So the document will go into a state called auth, and I've received feedback that people don't know what auth is. It's not auth 48. It is a state in which the RPC is waiting to hear back from authors. Murray?
You just answered my question.
All right. So as I said, we will hold it. Now, we're not going to hold it forever. So we'll give it like 3 weeks, and it's like, we don't want to hold up your document. So we'll start working on it. But we think these questions would be pretty quick for authors to answer. And, it will save us time because as we work through your document, we start noting any technical terms you've used. If you've used it consistently, like, is this always camel case? Are these header fields consistently capitalized? If we find inconsistencies, we then struggle with how it should be done. So providing that information beforehand would save us time. Next. All right, so for supporting the changing author processes, we would like to offer limited at this time, cram down support. So our goal is to fine tune our processes for editing in Auth48 for handling markdown files. So starting September 1st, we will start accepting markdown files. And our previous experiments, we've said, oh, you know, they should be small, they should not be complicated. Go ahead, hit us. But it's the first 5. Now, if we get 5 small ones, we may consider more. This will also be a question on the intake form. Do you want to submit a crammed down RFC document and then have the edited version presented to you at Auth48? And after, Karsten?
Yeah, just a quick comment. When you submit XML that has been generated by cram.rfc, there is the markdown in there. So
Yes.
you have it.
Right. All right.
Just Hank, did you want to go to the mic now? And as a reminder, please use the queue.
I tried. Okay. Hi, this is Hank. I also learned because in hectic and not paying attention, I realized submitting an MD also means that you're not submitting all the includes. So MD files have includes, so there's a set of files. And so the resulting XML, of course, had no CDDL in it anymore because they're all included like from other files. So what I realized is, yes, of course, MD is fine, but it's a composite typically, and then you have to take special attention.
All right.
I haven't set up my client. Of course, in the embedded markdown that is in the XML, all the includes are included. But that's not what we want to work on. We want to work on the things that are in our repo. So when you ask us for the markdown, you will get back a link to that repo. That's where stuff is. Repository, I'm sorry.
All right. All right. And I'll get back to you on details because we haven't unpacked markdown from the XML, but details. But what I want to cover real quickly is when the document, when you receive the markdown document during Auth48, it will end up being a 2-step approval process. Authors will review content changes. When those are approved, then the RPC will convert it to XML, and then we will ask you to approve the final outputs, the HTML, the PDF, the text, the XML. So that's 2 approvals, contents, and then formatting. Next. In addition, for improving productivity and also transparency, Rowan?
Hey, Rowan May. If you've got a draft that is in cram down that includes attached documents, like example documents that are, here's an XML document or an EDN document or whatever. Are you still okay with that? And is that part of the experiment?
That's going to be part of the this pilot program that we're doing to see if having these other files along with it are something that we can work out in our processes. So,
great, thank you.
Okay. So the tools team is helping us with our tooling, which currently is like Emacs for most of us. I'm the weirdo who uses VI and lots of scripts. So we will be getting a modern editing software built on VS Code libraries with built-in checkers, XML validation, GitHub integration. We are getting a new queue management system that will help us show you better details of what's going on with your document. For instance, when your document is in the queue and its state is edit, well, that doesn't necessarily mean we are editing it at the time. It could be waiting for assignment. So new system would be able to show you, yes, it's in the queue. We've done formatting, we've done, the reference checking, but it's waiting for a copy editor, for instance. We are also revamping the RFC editor org website. So we're really excited about that. We think it will be far more helpful to your general end user who uses RFCs. We understand that our community here uses Data Tracker heavily, but the goal is for this website to be aimed at a more general audience. Next. All right, and then since people have been interested in talking about GitHub, the RPC is going to be moving to Git and GitHub for their own version control. That's phase 1. So phase 2 will be the make an optional process whereby authors can interact with the RPC in the document's GitHub repo. Do note, though, that the email-based final review process will continue to exist. GitHub is not an official part of Stream document management and review processes, so this will remain optional. Also note that currently we're working on the requirements and design of phase 1. So there's a wiki page that provides details on this. There's the link there. All right, so another thing that we've done for process efficiency is we've broken down some of our editing steps. We have a citation specialist. Ted Harrison, please come up.
Hi, I'm Ted Harrison. I think I've met some people at the desk and at previous IETF. Oh, sorry. First time at the mic. Closer? Can you hear me? Thank you. I'm Ted Harrison. I'm the citation specialist for the RPC. I think I met some people at the desk, some people at IETF in Vancouver. Started back in March of 2024. Since then, I've learned a lot about Emacs, a lot about the RPC's internal processes. I've reviewed about 200 drafts in terms of references and have a lot of things to share, a lot of things I've learned. A lot of things with respect to RFC XML with respect to references I think could be done better. So my main goals are to be a resource to authors, a resource to working groups, improve external reference guidance, and with significant help from the tools team, improve the BibXML service. And as well as authors currently are sort of a black box to me when I think about how you all collect your references. So learning more about how you collect references, especially non-RFC references and non-internet drafts, journal articles and things like that. What types of file types you use would be really helpful. So yeah, good to meet you all, and send me an email as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Ted. All right, so this week we've got our desk set up at right next to registration. Please come by with any questions or just to say hey. And also please join our community call August 20th. Thank you.
Thanks, Jean. Maria?
need that. Hi everyone, I'm Suresh and that's Media over there. And we are here from the IIB Liaison Coordination Team, and Warren and Chin, who are not presenting today, are also part of the team. So we handle IETF's relationship towards the external bodies. So we have a set of liaison managers towards like each of the bodies, and we manage them. And in some cases, when there isn't a liaison manager, we do it ourselves. This is something that most of you as chairs have probably never experienced and will probably never experience. But when it happens, it's like something that's like extremely confusing. So the liaison statements usually come in from other bodies, and sometimes they just come to a working group and nobody knows what to do at that point. And our tooling is like pretty bad on this. Like we kind of been left with like tools that have been around for like decades. And Robert and team are like on the process of like updating these tools to make things better. But we didn't have a community approved mechanism of like, how we wanted the things to look like. So that's what we're starting off with. So just some background. So I don't intend you to read this right now, but there's 2 RFCs that specify how we interact with other organizations and how we can send and receive liaison statements. And the second one especially is like extremely complex, the way it's written today. And so we are updating it to make it a bit simpler and I would say more organized in a way, because there are a lot of repetitive text and things are really bad, like where people are not able to put even the to and from fields properly in there, what needs to go in there. So we're trying to clarify that. And the liaison statement tool is in that URL over there if you haven't seen it. So starting off with, this is something we hear quite a bit. So mostly from like newer working group chairs or like people who work with things that are also being worked on in other organizations in a slightly adjacent manner. And the one thing we always say is like, we don't need a formal liaison statement in most of the cases. So we are like entirely fine doing formal liaison relationship. It's not like always required to communicate to the IETF, but the other organization might require it, because like a lot of the organizations have some kind of formal requirements to communicate to other bodies. And most of the time when we set up a formal liaison relationship, it's because the other organization needs it for some reason. Okay, this could be to say that like they only talk to us in that way. It could be because they get the documents either behind some kind of membership or paywall, and the only way to get those documents to us would be by having a liaison relationship with us. And also in some cases, we may need to participate in their meetings, and that requires like a liaison relationship too. And the most important thing is that liaison statements do not require a formal liaison relationship to send and receive. So we can send a liaison statement to a body with which we don't have a formal liaison relationship, and that works fine. And the other direction also works fine. So this is like probably the first thing we try to move down to when somebody say, hey, I want to send you a liaison statement for sure. And it's like, sure, send it to us. We'll handle it, right? So that ends up with the IAB, and then we figure out how to dispatch it. And I think like the liaison statement serves a lot of purposes for the other bodies, but for us, it's really the value of getting a liaison statement or sending one is that it's publicly recorded. Okay, so we could have just sent it as an email to somebody. The reason we do this as a liaison statement is that it's publicly recorded, and on the same way, when we get something, we publicly record it too. And we try to be pretty flexible on the format, so we can tell people what we want to receive, but the other organization may have other formats they're thinking in mind. So some of them use like Word docs and everything. So we kind of try to manage those things ourselves along with the secretary to make sure that like things actually make sense. And if you look at it, there's only pretty much 3 things that we need: a subject line, sender and receiver, and some kind of corresponding contacts like with an email address. That's pretty much what we require. Everything in there is pretty much free form. So I'll pass it on to Miria now to actually talk about the tooling stuff and like more details on this. But do you have any questions for me for now? Okay. So, but the good thing is like if you don't get liaison statements or send, you already won.
you might get something in future, so you better listen up. We're trying, as Source that we're trying to improve the RFCs, the documentation, the tooling, but we're also trying to be more active in sharing the information, reaching out. So that's why we're here. I'm talking specifically about both what to do if you want to send a liaison statement, what to do when you receive a liaison statement. But it's a lot of slides. I will be rushing through them a little bit, I think, because we don't have too much time. But you can read the slides, you can look them up, you can talk to us, and we will continue this effort as well. So we might come back and talk about more things if you think this is useful. So if you haven't seen the tooling yet, this is how it looks like. This is just an example like of a received and a sent liaison statement. And in line with what Suresh already said, we're trying to clean this up. There's so many fields which like nobody knows how to fill them correctly. So part of this is also making it easier. Like instead of having all these different kind of response, technical contact or whatever, we really want to have one clear from, one clear to, and make it easier. This is part of the RFC update, but it's really also a tooling effort. So just as a heads up that this is coming, and like another part of the RFC update is, for example, simplifying this here. Like a liaison statement has a purpose, and there was a purpose for comment, which was really confusing, which was really not used that much. So there is only 3 purposes in future. One is informational. It doesn't require a reply. For action, we would like to have a reply, and then in response is actually when you send the reply. Okay, sending liaison statements. First question is, why would you even send a liaison statement? There are multiple reasons. Sometimes it's making the other SDO aware of some ongoing work, providing guidance about our technology they are using in their standards, request information from the other SDO, like document access, timelines, or also process-related things. But sometimes it's also more than that. Sometimes it's like, as sort of said, like this is recording a formal thing. So you can also state a formal position. Basically, we told you so, don't do it or whatever. And then there's a lot of cases where we get requests and we are nicely replying to the other SDO, and that's also recorded in a liaison statement. So there are various reasons to actually send these kind of formal communication letters, if you want to put it this way. But there's also a lot of reasons where you just don't need it. Like it's not like you have to, there's a formal requirement, at least not from our side, that you have to put anything in this formal format. From our side, if you want to work with another SDO, you have the right people in the room, you have the right technical knowledge, you can talk to each other. That's the best way to do it. As long as there's no problem, please keep doing that. There's no need to put it like in this formal frame. It's really those cases where you want to be formal for some reason, because you want to have it on the record, or those cases where there is a search set or requirement from the other side where it makes sense that they, for example, send us a formal letter because it's their process, and then it makes also sense to reply in the same form. But just generally, if you talk to others and everything is fine, that's great. There's not always automatically a requirement to have a formal relationship or sending formal statements.
AC Linda Marcus, is it possible that do we have to take them as serious as they do? Like, can we just say, well, we'll take that under advisement, or do we have to treat it as more important than, say, the input of a working group member?
So this is part of something that's we're updating in 4052 bis. Okay, so the short answer is no. Like it's not more serious than anything else. Okay, I think that's like some expectation we not level set towards the other orgs. And in 4052 bis, it says that your liaison statement might be treated differently in your org, but in this org, like a liaison statement is like any other input we get. Like if somebody walks up to a mic, sends an email, like says something on the record, it's getting treated in the same way, like as we got any other piece of input. So that's something that's an update in 4052 bis. We haven't clearly stated it.
But I also want to add, usually if they take the effort to send us something, they have a reason for it. So it's usually nice to reply or do something about it, right? But if they send us something we cannot do anything useful with, then that's just the case. So, okay, then the other question that often comes up, what's the level of consensus needed for liaison statements? And it's really the task of the chairs to figure out what the right level is, because a lot of the statements are kind of really saying, just pointing to existing RFCs that already have a certain level of consensus. So it's not like you need new consensus for it. Or in a lot of cases, we're replying and telling them about our not existing deadlines or about our procedures, where to find the right documents, right? These are all kind of information that don't need consensus. Sometimes there are more technical questions. In that case, you can try or figure out if there's a certain consensus in the group that you want to reflect, and it makes sense then to make clear what kind of consensus you actually have and make this clear in the statement. In some cases, you can also figure out if you just want to solicitate comments and provide like a pointer to them or summarize them or whatever. So it's really on the chairs to figure out what the consensus is needed. In a lot of cases, there's no extra consensus needed. And then also it's recommended to, especially in those cases where it might not be straightforward, reflect that in the text of the liaison statement, so this is crystal clear and there's no confusion. Then if you want to send a statement and there is a liaison manager, your step one is really to go to talk to the liaison manager. If you want to send a statement, there's no liaison manager, actually talk to us. That's usually good because we might have some background. The liaison manager, if there is a liaison manager, is particularly important because the liaison manager knows the other organization very well. Also, as said earlier, there might be formal requirements from the other organization, there might be formatting requirements from the other organization, and the liaison manager really makes your life easier. The liaison manager can help you to figure out what's the right group in the other organization, and it's always bad attitude if we're sending something over, we just throw it over the fence and we don't tell anybody about it. The liaison manager is really there to make sure that the communication between the both organizations works well, so we don't send anything completely unexpectedly or we don't send something to the wrong place. So first step is always reach out to the liaison manager before you do anything. And then the liaison manager is there to help you with that process. So we also talked about tooling. As a chair, you all have the ability to send liaison statements out from the data tracker directly from your working group to other SDOs, if that's needed. So in that sense, the liaison manager or we can help you, but like we don't have to be indirect. You are, you have a data tracker account, you have access to the tooling, so you can put this actually in the tooling. If you have agreed some text, you can put it in the tooling yourself. But then again, still talk to the liaison manager, make sure you send it to the right place before you're sending it out, and make sure you also have AD approval. So usually everything should be approved by the AD, also to have like more visibility rather than doing things uncoordinated. If you have problems with the data tracker interface, talk to us. We know it's sometimes problematic. We can also help you and put it in there for you or your liaison manager. Oh, sorry, this slide is incomplete. Then receiving liaison statements. That's also an interesting one. Because usually all the liaison statements, what we're trying to, first of all the liaison statements need to be recorded. That's the goal here, because as we said, this is really the value, having this public record, making sure it's kind of formal here and we can handle it. Usually we're trying to establish a process where all the liaison statements go to a central point, meaning they go to the liaison manager uploads them in the data tracker, and this way it's get distributed to the working groups where they need to be. That's also on our side. We have a checkpoint to make sure it's actually sent to the right places and in the right way. If we don't have a liaison manager, the central checkpoint are the liaison coordinators. However, it's actually just an email they sent us. We don't have control over all the emails in the world, so sometimes these statements just land somewhere at your working group mailing list, in your personal inbox, I don't know. If you see that, it's your responsibility to make sure it gets recorded in some way. It doesn't mean you have to upload it yourself, but you have to care about it. And B, if we have a liaison manager or the liaison coordinators, please contact us and then we work with you through that. But it needs to be recorded at some point in some way. And also we will communicate back if it went to the wrong place. So hopefully it will happen in future again, but we will not be able to avoid this. Like, people are changing on both sides, right? So you need to keep this knowledge repeatedly communicated. This is a little bit maybe to your question, do I really need to reply to all liaison statements? No, the answer is no, but of course it's nice if you want to have a good relationship with the other SDO. It's nice to send a reply. It's at least nice to consider it. Sometimes even if you get something that you feel like is misdirected to you, let others know about this so we can consider on a more global context about what to do. Sometimes it's enough to just be nice and send back a kind of no thanks email, like we heard you, we don't have anything to contribute, we heard you, we don't have any direct impacts, whatever. It's also nice to do that. But of course, like, it's also not like if they have a specific request, you're not obliged to do exactly what they want if you can't do it. For example, if they tell you, I need this RFC by tomorrow, and you're not be able to do that, of course, then just send them back, we can't do that. That's not how our process works, but here's all the information you need. Yeah, and generally it's also good. What we're also trying to do a little bit more now is we record this stuff in our system, and we also let the other end know that we recorded it, so they know they can hear something back from us. At least they know everything happened as planned, even if they don't get a reply. So like, this is the tiny little bit that, it's just nice to do it right. Okay, so that was already, as I said, rushing through the part of sending and receiving liaison statements. But again, we can talk more about this if there are more questions now or later. But there's a question.
Yeah, just one, Charles Eckel, something on the sending responses. The way I've been treating this, at least, is just trying to mirror what the other organization does on their side. So what I've seen is when we send them something for action, they'll always get back to us. If we send something for information, then they typically don't send anything specifically to us. However, if you look at their site, you can see that they got it and they at least dealt with it.
Yeah.
So similarly on our side, as long as if it's for action, we try to make sure we send a response. But if it's for information, at least what I've been using is, as long as it's posted in the tooling, they know that we dealt with it. So that's good enough. If we have something more we want to send, great, but I don't feel obliged to do anything more than that.
Yes, yeah, especially the cases where we have a liaison manager like you that knows the other organization, has insights into the processes of the other organization. That's very valuable. And then again, the first step is, if I receive something, I'm not sure what I should do with it, I go to the liaison manager, have a discussion, figure out what's the right thing to do, and then you come to a conclusion. Yeah. I think.
Yeah, just Cosmo, just a little teaser for more thinking. One important channel on which we work with other SDOs is when they come to us for numbers. And when they come to us for numbers, so all the IENA registration requests go to designated experts, who usually are also people who are active in the IETF. So it's a completely different thing, but some considerations are similar. The smart people all have set up mailing lists on which these requests are received, so they already have a way to record this, the conversation. Sometimes we haven't done that, and yeah, then things can become very difficult. We don't really have any process that supports this. I mean, of course, every DE themselves has a way to deal with these things, but if you get input from ETSI, how do you handle ETSI input? There should be something like a liaison manager we can ask about that too.
I mean, this is partly a question for IENA, right? Because it's their process. But if you have any questions about what's happening in another SDO, we are happy to assist you in like figuring out the right information. But there's also like a huge amount of SDOs. So usually when I get a request, I also have to find somebody I can talk to there and then send an email and ask questions. But I'm happy to do that because, that's what we're trying to do here. And that doesn't require any kind of formal thing. It's usually finding the right person and sending an email. I'm happy to do that. Yes.
I mostly wanted to make the recommendation, if you set up a registry and expect requests from organizations like ETSI, sorry for picking on them, it's really good to have a mailing list on which these things are done so more people can chime in.
Okay, quickly rushing through the rest, it's not much anymore. Okay, so yeah, we are working on tooling. We're working on RFCs and tooling. This is again the links for the RFC. They just got adopted by the IAB. So we have some open issues. We will definitely do another revision. So it's time for you now to look at these. If you have any comments, please open an issue or comment on the existing issue. It's really the time where we need input right now. So that would be very, very welcome. For the tooling, It's similar. We're working on this slowly but constantly. There is a GitHub where we have like a huge amount of issues. You can add more if you want. You can comment. You can also open separate issues on the data tracker, issue tracker. We will record them or just talk to us. Then it's also feedback that's welcome. We can integrate. Okay, and that's the last slide. So what are the main takeaways? The liaison system is there in order to have a good relationship with other SDOs. Sometimes we need it, sometimes they are formal requirement to access their document, participate in their meetings. But you know, it's this like if you can just talk to them and you can solve all your problems, you have the right technical experts in the room, that's the best way to do it, that's preferred. Liaison statements can be sent and received from anybody, like we don't check if they're an SDO or whatever. You don't need a formal relationship. The formal relationship is really just needed if there are specific requirements or there's some kind of very deep engaged collaboration where it makes sense to have a little bit more formality around this. It's important that all liaison statements that we send out and received get recorded. That's really, really what's it about on our site. And if there's a liaison manager, please always involve the liaison manager. If there's no liaison manager, I recommend you to reach out to us. Sometimes you know what you're doing. I'm okay with that, but like we are here to help you, and we also try to have an overview what's happening. And then maybe the last point is on consensus. That's on you. You know best what you're doing there, but again, talk to your liaison managers, talk to us if there are any questions. And yeah, final point, talk to us, provide us feedback on what we're doing here. We also have the liaison office hours tomorrow if there are further questions, or you can ask right now.
Okay, Magnus, can you be really quick?
Yes, one, I think, very relevant comment around liaison statements. They're often consensus documents from that organization. There are often politics behind them. So take that into account when you receive them, why they might look a bit strange or etc. There might be very much an agenda behind them. So another reason for talking to the liaison manager who might have insights.
Exactly. That's actually a good point. So like we don't have these requirements on consensus, but liaison statements that we receive often have a consensus process behind them. So this is kind of really an official position from the group. That's also something to keep in mind. As I said earlier, usually they have a reason they send us something. So we should at least figure out what that is.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And while Martin's coming up, if you use the table? Yeah, sure.
You want to sit? Yeah, you want to sit?
Someone asked for a sprint share information.
Yeah, I see.
It's possible. You'll have to give me.
All right, where is the green arrow? Click, green
All
arrow.
the slots are taken. You're presenting. You'll have to
Oh,
stop.
stop, sorry. Green arrow.
All right. Yes. Choose.
And while we're getting set up, if you have not joined the meeting, please do so. There seems to be a lot more people in here than have joined the meeting, and this impacts the number of lunches that are available next time.
All right, so I know a lot of people have been discussing this on the mailing list. I'm going to pretend that discussion hadn't existed and give the presentation that I was planning to do anyway. So a lot of people sort of ask about how to best manage the process of GitHub as a working group chair. And there's a bunch of little pieces that I think are useful to understand here. What I'm going to do here, though, is I'm going to start off by creating a draft. I'll make the draft repository known to everyone, and I'd like you to send me some pull requests so that we have a few people as co-authors on that document. This process is relatively straightforward. It should only take a minute. Any suggestions for names for anyone? It is. Ted wins. Okay. And so that process
is mostly done already. Right, so that process is relatively, what is it? Chairs, unicorns, okay. And then I think we just need change the title of the document, and I'm going to remove my affiliation. Oh, you know what? And that's all there is to it. So that should be available for everyone to create some pull requests. I'll get back to that when we talk about this one.
Where did the template come from?
Sorry?
The template, where did it come from?
So I can provide a link to that in the chat if that's.
Any persistent URL that I can remember?
Yes. Right there. Thanks to Jean for putting the repository. I put a link in the chat for your Tolos to where you can create the repositories. And you'll see on this page here that there's a button you can use the template to create a repository from here. So this is a good spot to stop if you're looking to use this tool chain for drafts. Okay, but that's really not what we're here to talk about. We're talking about what it is to set up a working group and how you manage the process of taking drafts into the working group and managing those documents. So what we're looking to do here is not create new repositories, but to create a new working group organization. And this is where it gets fun. The free ones are fine. So we need a name. We're going to follow the convention here, IETF WG, and then the short name of the working group. And I'm going to put my email on here. And I'm going to pretend that it's just me for this one. I don't want Copilot Business, and we'll set that up. Right, and so here you can add other members of the organization. This would be co-chairs. There's a recommendation to include some of the secretariat. You'll probably have to contact ADs. ADs is another one. I'm gonna put Rich on here because, and I don't know Karen's. We'll get that going anyway. This is the fun part. I get you to sign in, and now we have an organization. And so if I look here, there's a number of options here. There are no repositories at the moment, and there are relatively few people in the organization. The people tab here is a place you can use to give access to document editors and things like that to a bunch of repositories. When you bring repositories in to an organization like this, you have the option of setting up teams, and those teams can be given access to a set of repositories if you want to get fancy. A lot of the time you can manage access to repositories individually, and I'll show you how to do that once I have a few co-authors on the draft. So I'm going to go back over to the draft that I created, which I'll have to remember its URL. Thank you, Ted. No, that's because I put the extra one in there. Sparkle Unicorn. Okay. So we have a pull request already.
Sorry, Martin. Could you eat the microphone between the banging up front and the
my apologies
chattering in the back?
We have a pull request already from someone who I'm going to have to do this. Please add yourself as co-author, which was the point of the exercise. And Now I've got number 2. All right. Mike's put an abstract in. Right, so you can see I'm navigating around here. I'm looking at the changed files on each one of these things. Mike has added this. What the hell have you added there, Mike? We're going to add a suggestion to put that back the way it was because you messed that up. And we're going to commit that. And now this looks, yep, perfect. So we'll approve that, and we will add Mike as a co-author. I'll approve the flow. That'll happen eventually anyway, right? So I now have a co-author on the document. Mike will be seeing a lot of the notifications that the data tracker creates out of the other end of this one. I can, as an owner of this organization, this is now my personal draft, but should this move to the working group repository, I can go to the collaborators section of the settings, and I can add Mike Bishop as I can invite Mike to join me in editing this document. And so this is the state that a document might be in after a couple of editors have worked on it on their own in a personal repository before it comes into the working group. And so when it comes time to adopt a working group document, there's a bunch of IETF processes that you're going to follow. You're going to issue calls for adoption and various other things, and hopefully assess consensus that the document is a good starting point for discussions. Yeah, if he gets up to the microphone, we can have a conversation.
I pushed the mic button because I wanted to know if you had advice for working group chairs and authors about how to do the transfer of repository. Is that your next point?
That's my next step.
Okay, I won't say anything more. I wanted to say that this process that you just walked us through, it's a suggestion, and the suggestion button is a mystery to many. As soon as you see it happen, it's good. And there's been a number of very successful design teams where we do exactly that work on our design team call. I know this is common, and the ability for everyone to see the wordsmithing happen in real time and argue about commas after EG or something like this is exceptionally useful and time-saving. So,
Thank you, Michael.
yeah, and you're going to talk about transfer, which I don't know, seems hard to me.
Yeah. Right. So I'm now going to go back to the organization, IETF WG Unicorn. I'll eventually get the URL thing right. So transfer into an organization is typically a little challenging. You'll have a document that's sitting with its own repository, and it has a bunch of issues and pull requests and history that's associated with it. And you'll want to ask the authors to move that document into a working group repository so that you have the one place to go to get all the working group documents. That's generally the practice that working groups have used. Some working groups are a bit strange and have other processes. I don't recommend following those processes. Like the HTTP working group has a mono repo that has all of the documents in the one repository. That gets a little unwieldy for various reasons. It works, but it requires a bunch of setup that I'm not going to go into right here. One of the things that I can do here is I can, because this document is mine, and I'm the owner of the organization, I already have the privileges necessary to transfer the document from one owner to another. So that's not a problem. But one of the things that you can do as part of the arrangement of the working group is you can set up teams to manage a particular document. So if I call the team Sparkles, I can create a group of people, and this is now a group within the organization. and you can invite people into that group. And they will receive an email asking to add them to the group. And so I can add some of these people. And I can also, in the organization settings, now this is one that I have to always go searching for. There's organization settings in here that, no, that's not it. There's a bunch of role management things that allows you to determine where is it? Does anyone know where this is? I've lost it.
It's in the project one.
You need the privilege to allow people to create repositories in the repo. You need to be able. You need to be able to give the team that privilege. So now we have a couple of members in the team, and I think it's in here somewhere. Okay. Sparkles.
The role, right corner, right side.
Oh, right. That might work. That I don't know. Oh, yeah, right. And so the organizational roles, I think you can find in here somewhere the ability to do that.
Go to role assignments and change the role to maintainer in the group, not in the repo.
In the group, okay. Teams, here, no?
You can do it individually by user inside of the one on the left, that's role assignments, but.
Yeah, this is the hard part. I'm struggling with this one, I'm sorry. But I have the ability to do this myself, so I'm going to go and do that anyway. I will follow up with directions on how to find all of that after this session in an email to the list. So what was it? Unicorn.
While you're still searching the right button, one thing that may be worth pointing out is that it used to be complicated to move a repository from one organization to another organization.
That's right.
And a lot of people in this room know that it is complicated, but it no longer is complicated. So you need to update that knowledge.
Yes. So let me.
So being two places in front of Carsten in the queue, I want to highlight that there are good reasons not to migrate a repo. After 2 years of incubation, as an individual draft, you might want to get rid of the 100 issue lint and all the squashed commits. And sometimes it's nice to have a squeaky clean new repo, just as an advice.
Generally speaking, it's best to have the history because most of the documents have, there's value in that history.
Yes.
And wiping it clean is not necessarily what people will seek to
Yes.
do. But if you want to do that, that's up to you.
I'm in the minority here, I get that, but cleaning not able to be triaging 100 issues in 2 years will not stop.
Okay. So I'm going to transfer this while Jim.
I have a question that's more organizational and less nuts and bolts, and that is managing discussion between GitHub issues and the mailing list, and how to decide when to use which, and how people discover that maybe there's some discussion if they're looking at one of those and not the other. Like if they're looking at the mailing list, how do they know that there's also discussion on GitHub issues and so forth?
Yeah, so there's a bunch of advice about this in the RFC that talks about different choices that you might make.
Okay.
And so Generally speaking, a lot of groups have chosen to use the GitHub as an issue tracker, but maintain most of the discussion on the mailing list. And so the expectation is that chairs and editors will monitor that discussion on GitHub and bring anything back to the working group if it's substantive. And that's the mode that I think a lot of working groups have adopted, and it's a pretty healthy one. And yes, Rich points out that there's a tool that exists that you can sign up for that ensures that any activity on GitHub is transferred across onto the mailing list through a summary email every week.
I also wanted to mention that it's pretty straightforward to link in both directions between the mailing list discussion and the issues. And
Yes.
so if you're a working group chair and you're trying to manage discussion that's happening both in an issue tracker and the mailing list, just copy links back and forth. So if somebody finds it one way, they can get back to the other one. Thanks to the IETF archive for having good, regular, linkable archive points.
Yep.
So I'm not sure what the official policy is on official IETF working group organization things, right? So my working group's GitHub predates that. If it is that only adopted drafts can be into repositories, into the working group, then the interesting question is whether the adoption call should not also include the, well, do you really want to have the history of the individual draft all inherited or start it new, to get back to Hank's point, right? Because quite frankly, right, so if I already have to set up my own repository with all this stuff, then, you know, oh, and now I want to inherit it after adoption. It seems like making a clear break there is better. While on the other hand, if a working group does accept individual contributions targeted to the working group into the working group repository, well, the stuff will be there in from the first day.
Right. Well, we're done, right?
Great.
So just briefly.
Do you want me to talk or not talk?
Yeah, it's your call.
Actually, I've locked the queue. I'd rather you not. I'm very sorry. So we're a couple minutes over, so we only have 13 minutes. It seems to me that there's a lot of follow-on to this on how to figure out good training materials for working group chairs. We can take the conversation to the mailing list. And thank you, Martin, very much. We have 13 minutes to clear the room and take all of our garbage out before the next session starts.